Hey, Refuge community. How's it going out there? I'm so glad you've decided to take some time to watch our online Refuge service. I want to say good job for carving out some time to watch. We may not be able to gather together in our usual space, but we are able to gather together online from our homes and from our local communities like Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan, Lamont, and Edmonton. But I also know we have some of you tuning in from different locations. I know we've got people in Calgary watching and Kelowna. This is a new experience. Here I am coming to you from my very own kitchen. I'm staying in my house with my family, just like you are staying in your house with your family. COVID-19 has completely changed the way we do life right now. These are different days for all of us. All of us have experienced some kind of major change in the last couple of weeks. We have been disconnected from a lot of things. We are disconnected from seeing our friends. We are disconnected from school, from our teachers. If you're like my boys, you are suddenly removed from sports, both playing them and being able to watch them. We are disconnected from seeing some of our family, perhaps. Some of you are disconnected from going to your jobs. The list goes on. What disconnection are you struggling the most with? When it comes to these changes, these disconnections, all of a sudden, we find ourselves in a place of unknown. We aren't sure what is next. What will be the next disconnection? Or will the disconnections or these changes that I've been experiencing ever get better or return back to the normal of the way things were just a couple weeks ago? I find that any time we are faced with unknown things in our life, that all of a sudden we can experience a sense of fear. In fact, a lot of us seem to default to fear when faced with unknown stuff. The good news is if you are experiencing fear, the good news is you're not alone because fear is universal. On the other side, though, that means we have a lot of people who are fearful right now because there's a lot of unknown that people are facing and it is affecting all people. So you might be someone experiencing fear and that is okay. But maybe you're someone who doesn't feel too fearful right now and that's okay too. But I am 100% sure that there is someone in your life, someone in your family, or a friend who is experiencing fear and they need you to help them through this tough time. And some more good news is that God knows our struggle with fear. And he cares about every fear that we face. And he cares about every single one of us. In the Bible, God's word, we find commands and encouragements to not feel fear, to take courage, and to fear not. There are over 300 references in the Bible just like this. Your fear doesn't surprise God, but God doesn't want us to become consumed by fear. Take a look with me for a moment at Isaiah 41, verse 10. It says in this verse, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Let me just say a few things about this verse. This verse is just one verse of many in this chapter of Isaiah chapter 41. There must be something going on in the context or the culture for God to say words like this in Isaiah 41 verse 10. So here's the backstory. God's people, Israel, is currently in captivity under the nation of Babylon. Now, there's a much longer story than what we will get into today, but the Israelites have been experiencing the harshness and loneliness of being captives or prisoners under their Babylonian rulers. Maybe you feel a little bit like a captive in your own house, while the Israelites are experiencing the total extreme version of what you are experiencing. They know the deep hurt and fear that comes from disconnection of the life they knew to a completely unknown future. Daniel chapter 1 teaches us that even some of the youth were ripped from their families and taken back to the king's palace to be trained in the ways of the Babylonians and to serve their purposes. Most would likely never see their families again. And so during this captivity, God uses his prophet Isaiah to say, "Do not fear, I am with you." Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and uphold you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Do you believe in the promises of God? Do you believe that the things that God says in his word and the Bible are true? And in fact, that we can hold on to them. He says promises here to us that I believe we have to consider whether we believe in them or not. He says that he promises to be with us. He promises that he is our God. He promises that he will strengthen us, that he will help us, that he will uphold us. That was the choice the Israelites had during their captivity. They could give in to their fear of the unknown, or they could trust the promises of God. If you flip to Daniel 1, then you know that Daniel, in the face of incredible unknowns, lived out this promise in Isaiah 41:10. He did not fear in the face of the things that came at him. He did not fear, but instead trusted God to be with them and with his friends, to strengthen them, to help them, to uphold them. And above all, they believed that their God was bigger than anyone else or anything else. Now, if you compare that to what else is going on in Isaiah 41, not only is God inviting his people to hang on to his promise, he also tells them about what is going on with the Babylonians. He tells them that another power is rising in the east, a powerful force that has not been able to be stopped, a great leader and army that will come and take down Babylon. Isaiah 41 goes on to explain that the Babylonians will try to turn to their gods, to their idols, but this will be useless. Their gods are futile. It says that their metal images are just empty wind. You can read how this story plays out for the Babylonians in Daniel chapter 5. Now, the Bible is full of all kinds of contrasts between the way God desires his people to live and ways he does not. Out of Isaiah 41, you can see someone like Daniel who lives his life hanging on to the promises of God and living out of his faith in God to deliver, which led him to make very wise decisions over the course of his life. And we see throughout his life, God honoring those wise decisions he chose to make to live a life that was obedient to the way God had called him to live. That is in contrast, stark contrast, to the Babylonians, who were gripped by fear. And so they turned to metal objects, and they were stricken by panic as the threat of impending doom got closer to them. If you want to do some additional reading in your daily Bible reading, then I would recommend you read all of Isaiah 41, but then jump over to the book of Daniel and read through chapters 1 and 5. Let me close on this. What is the difference between faith and fear? Well, faith believes without seeing the desired result, and fear worries about how things will turn out, looking at the circumstances. Let me say that again. What is the difference between faith and fear? Well, faith believes without seeing the desired result. You can go over to Hebrews 11:1 and in fact read that whole chapter if you'd like. Fear worries about how things will turn out, looking at the circumstances. It's important to understand why God tells us to not be afraid. It's not because what we are facing is easy. In fact, God tells us in his word that we will face all kinds of trials. It's a certainty that we will face tough times. God tells us to fear not because he goes through those trials with us. We are not alone in this. He is there no matter what we're facing. Look at Psalm 46, verses 1-3. But we need to dwell on God's truths. We need to know his promises. We need to understand and reflect on his character. Let me just remind you of some things out of God's word that we can remember. So here's what I want you guys to remember. I want you to remember God has promised he will never leave you. Remember, God is never surprised by our circumstances. Remember, God can work your circumstances out for good. Stop asking, why did this happen, when you're afraid of things, and instead ask, what can I learn from this? What is God trying to teach me in this? Where is God in my moment right now? Remind yourself of all God has done for you. Remind yourself God is bigger than whatever you fear. And then finally, it's a great idea to just visualize yourself playing whatever you're fearful of and placing that into God's hands. In the days ahead, I am praying Isaiah 41:10 over our Refuge community. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Cole and Reagan are going to lead us in a time of worship. And while the worship is on the screen instead of in person, let me still encourage you to take some time to worship God. You can sing along if you'd like, or you can close your eyes and just listen to the words. But take the next 10 minutes to just enjoy the presence of God. Take care, Refuge community. Here's what I want you to do. Respect social distancing, wash your hands, honor your parents, get along with your siblings, be in God's word, pray every day, and we'll see you next week.
Caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment, I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings, Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. Oh, I'm sorry that I'm just gonna